Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Attorney General, I'm right here. I was going to do another subject in my questioning, Mr. Attorney General, but I've been so concerned by the interaction about the October 4 memo that I'm going to follow up on that, if I might. The memo is a one-pager. You read it before it was issued, I assume.
I certainly did, and I worked on it.
Okay. Now, in that memo, you issued a directive to the FBI. You directed the FBI to conduct meetings with leaders of all levels of government across the country, in every judicial district, to strategize against an alleged trend of, quote, harassment, intimidation, and threats of violence. You didn't cite examples to distinguish legitimate First Amendment activity from criminal activity, nor certainly examples of a nationwide scope or severity of such acts to constitute a rise or spike in criminal activity, which you alleged in the memo. Certainly not one that would warrant nationwide action by the FBI. Here, you've acknowledged that you relied in part on your knowledge of the National School Boards Association letter, which, by the way, characterized this activity nationwide as domestic terrorism, and maybe some vague awareness of other news reports. You've offered the justification here also that this was not the initiation of an investigation, as if that frankly, I don't submit it doesn't excuse the preeminent law enforcement official in the country issuing a memo of that sort. And other than a brief nod to the concept of First Amendment rights, you included no guidance in your memo how the FBI should go about avoiding, chilling, intimidating legitimate First Amendment activity. You've even distanced yourself from the DOJ's press release on your memo today in its reference to the National Security Division. So we come to this. You directed the FBI to act with speed. Meetings in 30 days is what you said. You directed the FBI to have these meetings nationwide, coordinated by United States attorneys. 3 days later, I and 30-some-odd members of Congress asked for advance notice of these meetings, indications of what content would be shared there. We asked for that response within 10 days, given the time frame you set forth in your memo. More than half of that time has passed, no response. Are these meetings occurring?
So let me just be clear one more again here. This memo is expressly directed against threats of violence and violence. The federal statutes that are relevant, prosecutors are well aware of where the First Amendment line is. This is addressed to prosecutors and members of law enforcement. These are the kinds of statutes that we deal with every single day.
Well,
they know
I'm not
the
sure
line.
You deal with it in this way, Mr. Attorney General. Are the meetings occurring? Do you know?
I don't know whether they're ongoing, but I expect and hope that they are going, yes, because I did ask that they take place.
You do not have any report, or you have not pursued at all to know what the progress is of your directive to do this within 30 days. Have meetings in every judicial district across the country. You just don't know.
I doubt there have been meetings in every jurisdiction. I expect there have been some in some jurisdictions, and I hope so, because that's the purpose of the memo, to have meetings to discuss whether there's a problem, to discuss strategies, to discuss whether local law enforcement needs assistance or doesn't need assistance. That's the purpose of these meetings.
Doesn't that make it worse, Mr. Attorney General?
Doesn't that
you don't even know if these meetings that you directed urgently to occur are even occurring. What is left, indeed, of the memo except your use of federal law enforcement moral authority to stigmatize a widespread movement of First Amendment activity, at least a significant portion of which is directed as opposed to the ideology upon which your son-in-law makes his living? That is the problem, and it is no answer, I would submit, Mr. Attorney General. If you were on the bench, you would not accept an answer from counsel that simply repeated your opposition to threats of violence nationwide.
Well, the memorandum specifically...
I haven't finished my point or my question, sir.
I thought you did. I apologize.
In fact, you would ask of counsel an answer that responds to the point without having a raft or a significant volume of evidence. You have directed the FBI to act nationwide concerning a matter on which there's widespread First Amendment activity. There's a movement among school parents. That seems to me to be
The
inexcusable.
gentleman's
My time's
time is
expired.
expired.